Okay, guys, where did we stop last time? I think we stopped on page 51. We were going to start the title, What About Our Optimal Physical, Non-Physical Relationship? Awesome. Hi, Deborah. Good to see you. Hi, Jennifer. Oh, awesome. Okay. Mercedes. Hi, Mercedes.
Hey, my dear.
Did you have a listen to the talk in the 365 group from this morning?
No.
Okay. Can you, when you finish up here, can you go and listen to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Why?
Because I thought of you when I was talking. I kind of always have a sense for who the message is for.
I know.
Right? So I didn't tag you in there, but I was thinking of you when I was talking. So
no, I've been very busy with my calls. In fact, it's been a wonderful day, and I in my list is you following up with what we need to follow up, and I already saw you on Facebook with that light, colorful, and you remind me of Mexico.
Awesome. Okay. So good. I'm glad you came just now so I could tell you to go and watch that.
I will listen to it.
Awesome. Okay, let's get started. This is
What
by
page?
far, we are on page 51. Okay, so page 51, our title, the heading that we are starting out with is, what about our optimal physical, non-physical relationship? So, human relationship with that which we call God or source. And Abraham says, so Jerry's question is, how would you describe the relationship between us, current human beings, and non-physical intelligence? And what would you describe as the optimal relationship between the two? So what is the best way to create a relationship between us and God? Abraham says, unless this relationship is understood, all other relationships cannot be clearly understood. So it is the most important relationship to understand. Now, there something very interesting that I did not notice the first time I read the book is that Abraham in this section talks about the way we look at the relationship, and then Abraham talks about the way Source looks at that relationship. Very interesting. Rimpi, I believe that Abraham books are available worldwide, so I don't see any reason why you can't find them in India. Hi, Alec. Good to see you. All right. So it's very interesting. How do we see our relationship with non-physical or God? And how does God see this relationship? Two aspects. When you look at it from the point of view of Source or God, second paragraph from the bottom of the page, Abraham says, Source sees no separation at all between you in your physical body and Source. So Source sees no separation. And then Abraham says what they always say, that human beings are an extension of Source. So how can there be a separation? Abraham explains that people see, we humans, we see things as having a presence, like this is me, this is you, that's Mercedes, that's Lakshmi. We see ourselves as individuals. Source does not see things that way. It's like if the ocean was looking at itself, it would not see separate drops of water. Right? So if the ocean was looking at itself, it would not see separate drops of water. it would just see one body of water, which it is in itself. So when if source is the ocean and source is looking at itself, it is made up of little drops of water, but it does not see any separation. It's one big body of water. So that's how, from the point of view of source. And then imagine a wave that is coming from source towards the beach. So that wave is coming from this ocean towards the beach. That doesn't mean that the wave is a separate entity. It's still part of the ocean. And so that's how source sees its relationship with humans. Humans are the extension of source. Human is the wave that comes from the ocean, goes back into the ocean. It's not separate from the ocean. It doesn't have a separate identity from the ocean. So from the point of view of the ocean, the wave does not have a separate identity. But when the wave is looking at itself, the wave sees its own shape. And the wave sees itself as being a separate wave from another wave and a third wave and a fourth wave and a fifth wave. So human beings see the difference, but from the point of view of source, there is no difference. Okay, so Abraham says on page 52, second paragraph, usually when you think of a relationship between two people, you see them as separate individuals or entities who behave or interact with one another. We want you to understand that you are not separate from your source, but an extension of your source. And we want you to be aware of or feel your vibrational alignment or discord with that broader part of you at all times. So you see the difference of perspective? We humans don't see ourselves as part of that larger entity. So we are the ones creating the difference. So then Abraham goes on and saying the relationship between mankind and non-physical intelligence equals your guidance system. The relationship between mankind and non-physical intelligence equals your guidance system. Because our guidance system tells us whether we are looking at things the same way the ocean is looking. So imagine a drop inside the ocean. That drop is not looking at things the same way the ocean is looking at it. Right? So basically, we create separation by looking at things differently. If we look at things the same way as the ocean is looking at them, now we have alignment. So our guidance system gives us information about alignment or not. When we are not aligned, we don't feel good. When we are aligned, we feel good. So the viewpoint of source is that there is no separation ever between us and source. The physical point of view is a variable depending on where you are on the emotional scale. So Abraham says, from your physical point of view, the relationship between mankind and non-physical intelligence from your physical point of view is a variable. The better you feel, the more complete the connection or relationship. The worse you feel, the more fragmented the connection or the relationship. Page 52, that's the second last paragraph on that page. The relationship between mankind and non-physical intelligence from your physical point of view is a variable. But from the point of view of source, there is no variation. So look at it this way. Abraham says, that Source always loves and God always loves. So the vibration, the way God is looking at us is always steady from the top of the emotional scale, from a place of love. There is no variation in it. There is no variation in the way God looks at you. Today, tomorrow, no matter what you do, God looks at you the same way. Source, the universe, loves you the same way. There's no variation in that vibration of love. The variation comes from the human side. The variation comes from the human side because we go up and down the emotional scale. So for those people who do see themselves as love and their actions demonstrate the fact that they are always in a place of love, they don't see a separation between themselves and God. And that's the important thing to understand here. The only reason we feel a separation from God is because we are creating that separation, because we are not steady in a place of love. Somebody does something that if you were God-like, then there can be nothing that someone does that you don't like. That's what it means to be God-like. Because that vibration that we call God does not go up and down the emotional scale. So it doesn't matter what you do, that vibration is constant. That's a really important thing to understand. God does not change. And this is, when I was growing up, and I have often spoken about this, is that I always used to have this thing about how can the same God be loving and punishing, angry at the same time? Like, what are you trying to tell me? Does God love or does God punish? Because it wasn't making sense to me. So on the one hand, you say God is always forgiving, always forgives, always loving, but then you tell me that God is going to be angry with me. Like, I can't, if God is forgiving, then why would God be angry with me? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So I was always thinking these thoughts. It can't be true. It's one way or the other way. And it is true that God never changes their love. The love of the universe never wavers. It's a steady vibration. It is constant. It is not dependent on what you do. So, I used to question my mother because I would think that she's trying to please God like a bribe. I'll do this for you and then you do this for me. And I used to be confused by that. And now I understand that you don't have to please God, and you don't have to be angry with God, because God's love never changes. It's constant. It's always there. It is the only constant in our lives. And that's where trust comes from, because we can count on it. It is always there and it is never wavering. It is never changing. God's love for us is never changing. It is not conditional on our actions. It is not conditional on our thoughts. It is constant, and it is the same for every person. That is where trust comes from. When you understand that that is so, now you have trust. Now you have faith. So, our guidance system is the tool that tells us how far away we have drifted from being godlike. Our guidance system is the tool that tells us how far we have drifted from being godlike. Because, take an example. Here's a mother and the child is fussing. Now, I have been a mother and I can tell you that there have been times when I have been like, just leave me alone. I can't take anymore. I remember a time when I used to tell my daughter, can you just be quiet for just 5 minutes? Because she used to just chatter all the time, non-stop. I remember giving her my entire jewelry box to play with just so that I can have 5 minutes of silence. It's just going to keep her busy for 5 minutes. So what was going on with me? I wasn't staying at a place of love. I was being conditional. But if I was godlike, then it would not matter to me. Her behavior would not impact me. And so to be godlike, you have to become that person that it doesn't matter what people in the world are doing, you are able to remain at a place high on the emotional scale regardless. That's mastery. That's a place of mastery of law of attraction, where nothing affects you.
And that is the meaning of the last 3 lines on page 53, right? When you master the art of allowing.
When you master the art of allowing, your consistent alignment with the source within you, every other relationship will be beneficial and pleasurable. Yes, Mercedes, that's what it means. Because then you are loving towards everyone. You're not differentiating. Oh, you don't call me enough, so I'm not going to love you. I'm going to bring a bigger gift for this child of mine who calls me every day. And that child of mine who doesn't call me every day, they're going to get a smaller gift. Humans do that. God does not do that. All are equal and always loved. So that is why it does not matter what you have done in the past. It does not matter. Because God is not keeping track. There is no little black book that says, oh, what is the balance? On balance, were you good or bad? No Christmas gifts for you because on the balance, you were not good enough. God does not do that. Everybody gets the same. So that's where all of understanding that one little thing and believing in it. So understanding it is one thing. Intellectual understanding, okay, fine, Zara, you're telling me, you're explaining it, okay, fine, I understand the emotional scale. All right, fine, I accept that God's love is never wavering. Understanding it and believing it, knowing that it is so for you, that's 2 different things. And the belief comes from your own evidence. That's why Abraham says, words don't teach, life experience teaches. Why does life experience teach? Because you gather your own evidence. You gather your own evidence about how the universe works, and now you believe it. Okay? So understanding something and believing it are 2 different things. All right. So now we are heading into a different subject matter completely. Jerry's question is, what if one's workplace feels uncomfortable? Somebody was asking me a question about this the other day. Who was it? Someone on our 365 Q&A session, Cami, and then, oh gosh, I don't remember who. It was Cami and one other person. Katrina. It was Katrina and Cami. They were having this discussion on the 365 call on Sunday when we did our group coaching call. Let's just see what Jerry is asking Abraham. Jerry says, Abraham, if a person has a job that he enjoys, but he's being harassed by an oppressive, overbearing superior, would you recommend that he change jobs, or can you offer a better solution? Abraham says in response, this leads us to another flawed premise. What is a flawed premise? It is a negative belief. Flawed premise number 11. If I leave an unwanted situation, I will find what I am looking for. And that's not the case, because Abraham has told us on more than one occasion, wherever we go, we take ourselves with us. So what that means is you take your vibration with you. You can go into a different room. That doesn't mean that your vibration has changed unless you've done something to change your vibration consciously. So Abraham says, whatever you are giving your attention to is offering a vibrational frequency, and your attention to it for an extended period of time causes that same frequency to be active within you. So if you are giving attention to a supervisor that you think is oppressive or overbearing, then you are now on that same vibrational frequency because you're giving attention to it. And if you keep giving attention to it for an extended period of time, you are creating momentum. And momentum is something that you can't get rid of very quickly. If you change from one room to another room, from one job to another job, you haven't yet put the brakes on the momentum. And unless you deal with momentum, then nothing changes. So Abraham says, the physical action of walking away from it will not prevent it from being present in your experience. The action of walking away does not hold enough power to compensate for the attraction power of your thoughts. So the action of walking away does not generate enough momentum to counter the negative momentum that has already been created. And that's important to understand here. So then the last paragraph from the bottom of the page, page 53, by the time you come to the point of using strong labels such as oppressive or overbearing to describe someone you are working with, you have undoubtedly been observing unwanted conditions for some time, which means you have been practicing a pattern of thought and a pattern of resistant vibration, and that means your point of attraction is now quite strong. So even if you take the physical steps to remove yourself from the situation by quitting your job and finding another, or by asking to be removed from the specific department of this supervisor and moving to another, wherever you go, you will be taking yourself with you because you have not done anything to change your vibration. However, if you do the work of shifting your vibration, then you will get better results the next time. It's like when people come out of a relationship and they immediately go into another relationship, then momentum has not subsided and they're taking all of that momentum into the new relationship. But if they sit down even for half an hour and they do some journaling to soothe themselves, to forgive what happened, to soothe yourself and shift your beliefs and tell yourself it doesn't have to happen that way all the time. Things can improve. The future can always be better than the past. All those affirmations that we do in the Unlimited 40-Day Workbook, those affirmations, basically if you repeat them, if you sit down and you write them and you see how they apply to a situation, you can change your vibration completely before you go into another situation. So take the example of the job that Jerry is talking about just now. If if somebody has this really upsetting professional experience because of an individual, and they leave their job and the next day they are joining another organization or going to work somewhere else, in between this one and this one, there's a day. There's a couple of hours at least. It's not, you're not walking over on the same day. You have, and even if you were, there would still be a time lag. During that time lag, what do you say to yourself is what creates the difference. So you can walk across the street to a competitor and go work there, but as you're walking across the street, what are you saying to yourself? If you're saying things like, I create my own reality, all things are possible, the future can be better than the past, I am unlimited, I can have, be, or do anything I want, we are all the same, we all come from the same source and return to the same source. What are those? Those are all our affirmations from the 40-day workbook. But if you're saying those and now you are applying those statements to what has happened in the past and what is going to happen in the future, you are reducing negative momentum and creating positive momentum. For example, when you say the future can be better than the past, remind yourself, well, whatever happened there is going to stay there. Like they say, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, that kind of thing. I'm not bringing it with me. I'm going to be different. And because I'm going to be different, I will get a different result. Right? All things are possible. I guess I didn't notice. I guess I wasn't as consciously creating in my old job as I wanted to, and that's why I ended up creating this reality that happened to me. But now I'm going into a new job, so I'm going to create a different reality because I understand all things are possible. I'm going to be more aware. I'm going to be more conscious. Remember that affirmation from the 40-day workbook, from the unlimited workbook. I'm willing to give up all those beliefs that no longer serve me. Right? So here I am walking across the street from one job to another. I'm going to say, whatever those beliefs were that were holding me back in the old job, I'm not bringing them to the new job. Right? What's another one? There's another one that I wanted to say just now. Anyway, you get the point, right? If we go through those 40 beliefs in the unlimited workbook and we see how they apply to the old situation and how they will apply to the new situation, just doing that much vibrational work is enough so that we have broken the hold of old momentum and we are creating new momentum. But the thing that I want you to understand, first of all, is that you don't actually need to go from one job to another job to create that break in momentum. Just take a few days off and go do a vibrational cleanup, decluttering, emotional, vibrational decluttering, and then come back to the same job. Because you will have changed your vibration, your results will be different. They won't be the same results, right? So it's about creating a different vibration, and that's really what it is all about. If you create a different vibration, your results will be different. Okay, so coming back here, Abraham is saying, also you can now understand that there is tremendous value in this harassing, oppressive relationship, even though it is difficult to recognize it while it is happening. Why does Abraham say that? Because there's contrast in it, and contrast is always helping us to create. Contrast helps us to give birth to new things. Contrast is what makes living delicious. And then Abraham says something very important. Abraham says, just because you walked over to another job and now you're not observing your old supervisor, But what is the story that you're telling yourself and other people? You're telling yourself and other people the story of justifying the necessity of the move. And so you are reinforcing the very thing that you want to forget. Okay? Because when you forget something, you are reducing the momentum of it. Remembering things over and over again is what creates negative momentum. Recently, somebody sent me an email and they said to me that they have this unique ability to remember everything that has ever happened to them since the age of 6. And at first I recoiled. I was like, oh my God, you poor thing. I feel sorry for you. And then I noticed in his email that he was actually quite proud of himself for being someone who remembers everything. And I was like, you know what? It's perspective. I've trained myself not to remember anything. I don't remember because I have given up the need to hang on to anything that's happened in the past. So I've trained myself not to remember. And he's done the reverse. It's okay. Takes all sorts to make a world, right? So
but that's not going to bring that person as fast to a better place.
For sure, Mercedes. For sure, Mercedes. But you know what? I care, but not that much.
Exactly. There you go.
I don't care enough to take the time to explain that to him unless he's open to it. But he was not open to it because he was proud of his ability to remember everything. So imagine that someone is coming to me and saying, I have documented proof that says I am one of so many people who in the world living just now who can remember each and every day of their lives. It's like a certificate that he's got on the wall. He's proud of this thing. So do you think he's going to be open when I tell him, just forget everything? Forget everything. No point in remembering. He's not going to be open. So I'm not even going to go there and try. I'm just going to say, that's fine. I care, but not that much. When you're open, when you start understanding that it does not serve you, that's when I'll explain to you. But when you're not open, I'm not going to explain to you because then I care too much. And I don't care about being right. I care about being happy. And having an argument with you is not a happy feeling.
So how will you, if somebody does try to recall and try to say, oh no, you are wrong, this is how I remember, and so how will you get out of that?
Well, sometimes that has happened with my children. They try and tell me that I said something that I know I did not say. I just let it be. I don't fight it. I just say, maybe you're right. I don't remember. You might be right. You could be right. I don't remember. So, it's okay. So I don't get into that back and forth match.
So, getting back to what Masumi said, because it's like she read my mind, how would you get out of, there's someone that it's all the time getting back to the past and remembering the past, and even in a nice situation, remembering who he was in the past because he was great and all that. And I feel like, oh my God, stop with the past. Think about the future. So how
No, you can't. I'm not there to change them. I'm just there to make sure I keep my alignment, and I just have to tell myself I care, but not that much.
There you go. Okay.
Right? I'm just not going to go there. You want to talk about the past? I'll listen politely. And in my heart, I'll just be saying, you poor dear, you just don't understand. And today is not the day when I'm going to explain it to you. Right? When we know these things intuitively because people say pick your battles. So I just look at it and I say, is this battle worth picking? No. It's going to make it harder for me to keep my alignment. Anything that makes it harder for me to keep my alignment is not worth it. It's not worth the effort of proving myself right. It's not worth the effort because in that process, I'm going to lose my alignment. So I'm just going to soothe myself. I do have to soothe myself. I have to do the self-talk that says, let them say whatever they're saying. They don't know that they're digging a hole for themselves. And I'm not going to take it on because they are not in a place where they're going to understand. So I do care for them, but not that much. Not that much. And really, I don't have to care. I don't have to be responsible. You know why? Because they have the same guidance I have. They have the same emotional scale I have. They have the same love of the universe that I have. So why should I worry about anyone else? It's not my job. I don't need to. Everybody has their own guidance and the ability to use it. So what's the worst that can happen? They'll bang around and they'll find their alignment, or they'll bang around and not find their alignment. Either way, it's not my problem. It's between, when they say it's between you and your God, that's really what you're saying to yourself. It's not for me to sort it out. It's between them and their God. Are they listening to their guidance? If they're not listening to their guidance, I can't do anything. But they can't affect me. You see, why do people get upset and why do people have this urge to prove themselves right? Because they feel that somebody is going to affect them. For example, I have this abundant mindset, but that person who is married to me does not have an abundant mindset, so he is sucking our abundance. He's sucking it away. No, he's not, because if I am abundant, I can create abundance not only for me and him and 10 other people. I can be abundant enough for a whole town, a whole country. Because there's no limit to how abundant I can be. So I'm just not going to bother about their lack of alignment. I'm just going to focus on my alignment because I know that I am unlimited and everything that I want is possible. So I'm just not going to worry about other people's lack of alignment. It has nothing to do with me. I was talking about this to someone. I don't remember who, but I was talking to someone about this and I was saying to them how interesting it is that perspective has changed over the ages. Because, these gender roles, historic gender roles where men work outside the house, women work inside the house. Well, what I notice is, I'm going by what I noticed about my grandfather and my father and my brother now, is that men used to work outside. My father used to work outside the house and he used to bring all that money and give it to my mother. And she used to give him a stipend. Seriously, he would earn all the money, give it to her to run the house, and she would give him a stipend. And I remember him saying on her birthday, like a month before her birthday, he would say to her, "Can I have some extra money this month? Because I would like to buy you a birthday gift." So, but I remember, now I look at it and I remember that and I think, oh my God, he had such an abundant mindset. He never, he never expected my mother to go outside the house. It was not an expectation. He had this expectation that he had the capability to provide for his family, and he did. And he never felt bad about spending money on any of us or on my mother. In fact, he just gave it all to her. But nowadays, I see this distinct shift in perspective where it's like, I make this money and you make this money. And if you're going to put this much, then I'm going to put this much. So, and I find that women are not that giving. So if we turn the tables and the woman is working outside the house and the man is in the house, the women feel bad that he is not providing. I mean, that's what I'm observing. That women don't have an abundant personality where they are able to say, sure, sweetheart, you stay at home, let me do all the work and you look after the house. They haven't made that shift in their mindset. They still want the man to go out of the house and him to earn, or at least to earn something. So there's this, often when I'm counseling people, I find that there's this thing going on where it's a feeling of lack, whereas we all create our own prosperity. So she too has the ability to allow for the whole family. Right? The woman has the same ability to allow that the man does. So why should she feel bad when the man is stay-at-home husband and she's working outside the house? It should be the same, but it's not. Women have a long way to go. Because they've made the action change, but they haven't made the mental change. They haven't made the thinking change. They've made the action change of going outside the house and working, but not the internal change of changing their mindset to say, I can provide for everyone. Right? That's why. So this is exactly what Abraham is saying, is that just taking action does not compensate for vibration. That's basically what Abraham is saying here, is that action does not compensate for the thinking work. If you don't do the emotional, self-talk, thinking, vibrational work, action cannot compensate for it. So if you have 100 phone calls to make, you can make them from a place of not being aligned, or you can make them from a place of being aligned. Your action cannot compensate for alignment. When you're aligned, doing the work is easier. It gets done faster. Okay? Awesome. So let's keep moving here. So basically that brings us to the end of this section. Abraham says on page 55, look for the benefit of the relationship rather than pushing against the unwanted aspects of it. And in that little appreciation and giving the other person the benefit of the doubt, that is enough to soothe yourself and create a completely different result. Always give people the benefit of the doubt. I remember my father always used to say about my mother, oh, she works so hard. She works so hard. Look at her. She's tired. Like, he would come from a whole day of work, and then he would massage her feet. And he would say she's been working hard all day. Whereas she'd had an afternoon nap. Right? So, I mean, I'm just using my memory of my parents as an example of, like, it's giving the other person the benefit of the doubt. So he never said, oh, you've been sitting around doing nothing all day. How about you rub my feet? Right? No, he always said, oh, she worked so hard all day. So, okay. And the next topic that we have is about competition. And that is a really important subject, competition. We feel that there's competition, that we have to compete for resources, that only one person can win, but that's not it. Jerry says, you said we can have it all, but how does that work when there are others who are also wanting it all? What keeps our desires from clashing? And Abraham says, well, there's a flawed premise there, or a negative belief, and that is that there is a finite container of resources that we are all dipping into with our requests. Therefore, when I satisfy my request for something, I deprive others of that resource. And that is absolutely not correct. The distinction Abraham is making is with the words, two words, discovery and creation. So Abraham says, you don't discover resources, you create resources. You don't discover abundance, you create your abundance. And because you are creating your own abundance, no one else can have it. You can lose it, but that doesn't mean that because you've lost that the other person got yours. No. The other person was creating their own, and what they have got is what they created. What you had created is still held in the vortex for you, waiting for your alignment so that you can receive it. If you did not win today, that just means you were not aligned enough today to win today. But that doesn't mean that what was yours has been given to someone else. That's not how it works. And that's why, the thing that we say, if it's yours, it will always come back to you. Well, it's kind of that concept. If it's you created what is yours, it is always yours. Just because someone else won doesn't mean that they took what you had created. So if you and you and you and you and you and you all created winning $100 million lottery, then if someone else won, that doesn't mean that they won what was yours. They had created their own $100 million lottery that they won, and you still have yours sitting in the vortex that you need to be lined up with in order to win. Does that make sense? Awesome. So Abraham says, you did not come here to compete for the resources of your planet. You came as creators. You create resources. And one of the most beautiful things that Abraham says when they are explaining this kind of abundance is, they say, well, new oil reserves are found almost every year, but new resources are not being trucked in from another planet. We are creating because we are asking. And when we allow, it shows up. So Abraham says, no one can ever deprive you of something by taking it for themselves. In fact, their existence enhances your ability to receive. For in your interaction with them, your own desires are inspired. Any and all desires can be fulfilled unless you are holding yourself out of alignment with your own desire. The feeling of competition or shortage or limitation of resources means you are out of alignment with your own desire. All right. So really there is no competition. This is where I want to close. So we will start next time on page 57. And that is about legal contracts. So at this point in time, the floor is open. If any of you have any questions at all about the material we've covered so far, I am more than happy to address them. So anyone have any questions? Jennifer, any questions?
No questions.
Awesome. Mercedes?
I do, but it may and may not be related to this. What do you say to someone that her husband is dying? How do you comfort someone that a very close relative is dying?
Well, you can't.
It's in intensive care. What kind of comfort Because
You can't. You can't. You can't. And you shouldn't try. Because nothing that you say is going to make it better just now. Nothing that you say is going to make it better just now.
Really?
No.
No?
No.
So just keep quiet?
Well, what I like to say in such situations is, there's nothing I can say. I know how bad you feel, and there's nothing that I can say that's going to make you feel better. I just want you to know that I'm here for you if you need me. Okay? But I can't make that situation better. I know that. Momentum is raging. It's not my job. All I can do is, so when somebody is in the middle of a situation that has gone out of control, you can't, they cannot control momentum, and you know that you can't help them to control that momentum. So all you can say is, I understand how you feel, and I'm here to offer support if you need me. May God be with you. You know? Like, what are you going to say? You can't change it. You can't bring her husband home. She can't bring her husband home. So what are you going to say? There's nothing that you can... So it's like when somebody... So let's say you're on the highway and somebody else is going at 100 miles an hour, and I use that analogy that I always use of the brakes going out, and now you have to bring the car to a stop. You can't fix the brakes at that time. So what you're trying to say to me, Mercedes, is the brakes are out of control. He's already in the ICU. Doctors don't have any hope, but I want to fix it for her. You can't fix it for her. So don't try. Just tell her what she's feeling is justified. What she's feeling is, her feelings are justified. So all we can say is, your feelings are justified. What you feel is real, and I understand it. There's nothing I can do about it. She already knows that. She knows that all her family and well-wishers, nobody can do anything. She knows that. What is helpful for her to know is that people care enough that they are asking if she needs anything. People feel supported. And that's okay. You can offer your support. But you can't do anything about the situation. And it doesn't matter what you can sing her songs and lullabies till the cows come home, you still won't make her feel better. I mean, the only way you can make her feel better is to knock her out, either with alcohol, drugs, or a knock on the head. But, other than that. So there's really nothing you can do, right? Except that there's nothing you can do. Bless her and let her go. Let her know that you're there should she need you for anything. But there's really nothing you can do. So there's no point in your sitting there thinking about how you can help her. Because you can't.
You're kidding me? I'm watching the phone every 5 minutes.
Because how is that going to help? You are not going to be able to do the things that you need to do for your well-being. So what's the point? You're not helping her, and now you're creating another problem for yourself. Because 10 days from now, you're going to say, oh, all that time went by and there were things I needed to do that I didn't do. You cannot. So what you're doing is what we know not to do. The aircraft is out of control. The oxygen mask has dropped, and you're giving yours away by looking at the watch every 5 minutes. How is your not going to work helping your cousin? How are you helping? You're creating a problem for yourself, and you're not helping the other person either.
Clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anyone else? Deborah, did you have a question? No? Lakshmi?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Andrew?
I don't know. I just like to thank Mercedes for asking that question, because I know someone who has had a lot of terrible stuff happen to her in the last 2 years and I'm not even gonna give details because it's really terrible stuff. But I'm trying to figure out like which Abraham recordings to send her, because she kind of understands it, but not really. But yeah, what you just said, like to offer her support if she needs something, and
But you
like,
can't fix it. You can't fix it for
like,
everyone.
yeah.
See? So you can't fix it for people. That's the thing. So, they say, don't give a man a fish, give him a fishing rod. Well, you can give them the fishing rod, and then that person goes and puts it in the shed and never brings it out to go fishing. That was me when I first found Law of Attraction and Abraham's work, and I was left, right, and center giving people Abraham's books. And then people were returning those books to me and not reading them. It's like,
I did that.
and then you just learn that when people are ready, they will ask. So my question to you, Andrew, is she asking you to send her a video that will help her?
We talked about it briefly. So I sent her one, and I said, this is probably not the greatest. It's probably not a great time to listen to this, but I told you I would send you something, and so I did. But
So
she
that's
might
it.
listen to it like in a year or two.
Then you can't, like, you let her ask. She knows you've got material that can help her. So you have to care, but not that much, and let her ask. Let her ask. She will ask when she's ready. So all you have to say to her is, there's tons of material. YouTube is full of it. I have material. Well, so if it's right out there and she's still not going there, then you can't do it for her. We can't do it for anyone else.
She might be doing that, but like not
So that's fine.
telling me. Yeah, it's fine.
So it's fine. She's going to follow her own speed. She can only go as fast as she can go where she is. And so when she's asking, that's the time to give her a lot. In the meantime, what you do is you tell her your own stories. Oh, you know what happened? Yes, that's what you do.
No, I do that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, you know what happened? This is what happened. I created it. And the more, so we teach by demonstration. Most of all, when people see us and what we've created by using the tools that we are telling them to use, when they see us having used the tools and created something, that's when they want to use the tool. It's like any skill. If you really want to learn from someone who demonstrates that they are using a tool differently and it's giving them beautiful results, then you go up to that person and you say, can you show me how you painted that? I really like your technique. And then you're ready to learn. Right? But you can't teach people who are not ready to learn. This is one of my big lessons that I've learned in the years that I've been doing this work, is you can only teach those who are ready. Right? Wait for her to be ready. And in the meantime, you can see her as being ready.
Yes, picture her as you know she wants to be.
Exactly. Exactly. Awesome. Let me just check Facebook. I don't see any questions on Facebook. All right, guys, I'm going to close the call and I'll see you next Thursday. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, on Facebook, Rimpi, Alec, Tamika, Navera, awesome. Have a super fantastic rest of the day, and I'll see you all for book study next Thursday. Bye for now.